From the court to the classroom, from the block to the boardroom, this is the Michael Graham Show, where real talk meets real life. Join Michael Graham as he breaks down the big issues: youth development, community programs, housing, jobs, and the challenges that shape us all. Loud, funny, real. The voices of experience from athletes, educators, advocates, and everyday warriors are all right here. This is where community comes to talk. This is the Michael Graham Show. From the court to the class.
Sorry about that. Happy New Year to you all. This is our first show of the year. My name is Michael Graham, and welcome to the Michael Graham Show. I got my partner again. He's back from his vacation and everything also. He's the author of the book, The European Experience, The Other Side of the Hoop. He's a DC legend. And my man, Bobby Kinzer. Hey, Bob, what's going on, baby boy?
What's up? Yes, look at the hat, babe. That's right. Positive vibes, home slice. Starting off 2026, all the way live. I'm like a man smoking a cigarette at a gas station. I'm about to blow up.
How you been, man? How your new year coming along?
Man, so far the new year has been great, man. I'm ready for a positive 2026. I remember they were just talking about Y2K in 2000. 26 years already.
Right.
And what about you, Mike? You ready for 2026, man?
Yeah, I'm ready as I'll ever be. So, I'm looking for a very exciting year. I got a few things planned, but I don't want to say now, but hopefully next week everybody will know.
It's going to be great, Mike. You deserve it. Look, man, Mike, I'm pumped for today's show.
Me too. Who we got, though? Who we got?
No, to DC, not DMV, Washington, DC.
Okay.
Homies, man. And they even grew up together, man. The first one is the baddest man out of Gonzaga High School. Played in the NBA for the Dallas Mavericks in 1984-85. Had his jersey retired at Gonzaga High School, number 33, one of the baddest men, went to Notre Dame. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Mr. Tom Sluby. What's up, Tom?
Hey, how you guys doing? Happy New Year.
God damn, Tom, how the hell you still look like you going to goddamn Gonzaga, man?
I know, right, don't he?
I had hair back then.
Yeah, where we all do. I used to wash my face like this. Now I wash it like this. Look, let me tell you. Look who. Let me tell you who else we got, Mike.
Okay.
Now, this is my vote. We played together in Europe together in Scotland.
Okay.
DC's finest, Mackin High School, and the great Mac. We had some great players come out of Mackin, man.
Yeah.
The Heron brothers and Duck Williams and Larry Long, a bunch of guys.
Okay.
And Mark Nichols, may he rest in peace. But this guy, man, Rod, went to Southern Illinois, the Salukis, I hope I'm saying it right, also was drafted by one of the same teams like you, Mike, the Seattle Supersonics. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful, the incomparable L. Chapadusky, Rod Kemp. What's up, Rod?
How's everybody doing?
Man, we doing good, man. It's blessed, man. I'm blessed to have y'all on here, man.
Thanks.
I'm blessed to have y'all on here. So how y'all New Year coming along so far?
Hey, for me, it's coming along, well. It's a new year. Trying to make it positive, trying to keep it positive, and that's how I approach it. So I'm looking forward to 2026. It's going to be a good one.
Cool. What about you, Rob?
All praises to the Most High, man.
Amen.
That's it.
Give thanks for another year. Always glad, and it's very uplifting to me to see brothers, as my father used to reference, on the other side of the dirt still, doing positive things, and sending good energy out here.
Good.
Hey, Mike. Before I
Mhm.
go further, I just gotta say this, man. And we just said it, but I gotta say it on camera. Rod Camp is the smoothest, coolest, dressingest 6'10" mug I've ever seen. We would be overseas, man. This mug we wearing tailor-made slacks,
Well,
down to the belt.
I had to, Bob. I got a 41-inch inseam, man. I can't buy off the rack like you, man.
Well, you know,
Right.
but they did look. I mean, but the only thing was when we played in Scotland, they tried to make a kilt for them, but they couldn't make it long enough. But let me start off like this is so interesting, man, because you and Sluby, man. I mean, it's very few guys, man, that I can say I've been around like 40 years or more. Actually, y'all more than damn 40 years. So can you start off, Sluby or Rod? Y'all start off. What neighborhood did y'all grow up in, and then how was it back then? What neighborhood was that y'all grew up in?
Well, I can start, Rod. You can add on because I know you can give some detail to it. But it was Langdon Park,
Okay.
Northeast, right off of Rhode Island Avenue.
Uh-huh.
We had a lot of guys back in the neighborhood who were playing basketball back then.
John Battle's over there, right?
John Battle, my man John Battles, he was pooping with us. You know, Peanut, Delonte Taylor,
Yeah.
Tony Ellis.
Right.
Man, it was a lot of guys who were balling, and so I could go right across the street, and and we could get some good run there. But we were all over the place balling back then. But Ron, I don't know if you want to add some more to that.
Well, so Tom's exposure was at an earlier age and to varying degrees greater than mine were.
Mm-hmm.
But once we got together around my 10th grade year, probably my 11th grade year at Mackin, and then going into my senior year, I wasn't very, I didn't have much opportunities in high school, and I wasn't very good as a result. I didn't have much interest in basketball until 9th grade. My first year at St. John.
Okay.
But Tom and I met way back in elementary school. He was in 3rd grade. I was in 6th grade, and his brother was in my class. And then once he started developing his interest in basketball, when we met as him a rising freshman and I was a rising senior, he was already on his way, man. And and then we just made it a point and had time in the summer where we just spent an inordinate amount of time, man, just on basketball and trying to find where we could play basketball.
So what neighborhood was that again?
Langdon Park.
Is it Langdon or Langley?
No,
Langdon, Langdon,
right.
Don.
Two different people just get those mixed up.
Yeah.
So where was when y'all grew up? Where was the best place to play? Where were y'all playing your ball?
There really wasn't the best place to play. We had to go. I think the place that you could count on there being runs that you could get in if you weren't one of the players known in the area was just the best. Any playground that had strings and a no bent rim, full court with limited pock marks in the asphalt.
Now, did y'all get to Watts or Turkey Thicket or any place like that?
Turkey Thicket, Terrace, St. Stephen's,
Hey, Sligo. We went out to Sligo. We played at University of Maryland.
How about Candy Cane City?
Candy Cane.
Yep.
Before they tore that down, and each year, those areas became more popular because of the type of prolific runs that would be there. So, for instance, at a certain time, the best runs in the afternoon you would find at Sligo.
Okay.
But come nighttime, the best runs were at Byrd Stadium.
Or at the University of Maryland.
Or in Cole Fieldhouse.
Or don't forget out there about the Armory.
The Armory and Cole Fieldhouse.
And don't forget, remember they also would play in other gym, Richie
Coliseum.
Yeah. I remember those.
I never played in any of those.
Oh man, but look, Byrd Stadium. So I go out there. I'm just coming back from OC. So I go to Byrd Stadium. Wasn't nobody there, but they had the big door where they moving big stuff in the Cofield House. So I eased in there and I saw this guy playing. I'm like, God, man, I'd like to shoot on the court. So I just walked over there. He said, "No, Slim, you want to play one-on-one?" I'm like, "Yeah." This dude went to just manhandling me, man. And I'm like, "What the hell? Who is this one?" And I realized it was Buck Williams.
It was Buck.
And I didn't know Buck had an offensive game. He had an offensive game. He would cross me. He would lift me and put me in the hoop. I'm like, wait a minute, mother, I'm playing the goddamn pro international ball. I got some, man, that boy was manhandling me. Buck was strong as hell.
Buck was a different breed.
He's strong dude.
Yeah, he was a different breed, man. He and Maurice Lucas in Portland,
oh man,
kind of tied for who was the strong, you call it cock strong back in the day. And in the weight room, Buck was a phenomenal basketball specimen, man.
But you can't leave out Lonnie Shelton either. When you start talking about pros, Lonnie Shelton, he was no joke. One of the strongest dudes I played.
Where did Lonnie go to high school?
I don't even know.
Dunbar? No. Where did Lonnie go?
No.
No. We ain't talking about that Lonnie. We talking about
Lonnie. You're talking about the NBA Lonnie.
Yeah, NBA Lonnie.
I'm thinking about Craig Shelton. I'm sorry.
You talking about Craig Shelton.
You talking about Lonnie Dorn.
No, I'm talking about Craig Shelton, but you talking about Big Lonnie, Big Thick Mug, right?
He's strong. He's strong dude.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Craig Craig was one of the first guys who had several knee injuries,
right,
and came back from them.
Yeah,
and back then, if you blew out your knee, it was a death sentence. Your career was over.
A big Frankenstein scar on your knee. It wasn't arthroscopic.
But
he came back several times from those injuries.
Yeah, that is true. Big Sky, and actually he put him and I can say that well before them, but him and Bebe kind of put Georgetown on the map, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. That's why I slowed up. But before them was Alonzo Holloway, and I don't know if y'all remember Jonathan Smith.
Cheese. Oh, you talking about Cheese? Okay.
Cheese. Yeah. They sort of put it, but Bebe and Craig took it from there. But remember that team that they had Merlin Wilson. Al Dutch. I don't know if y'all remember Al
Dutch. Went to Carroll, yeah.
All Dutch. They had Felix Yeoman. They had
Yeoman, yeah.
Yeah, my man, may rest in peace. I love me some Tommy Skates. It was some serious ball back then. But tell me, y'all, back then, and I'm talking about just in that era right then. Who were the ball players back in the area that were just ahead of their time? Who would y'all say was some of the best players in your era? Because I'm from 73 to 75. Sluby, you got to be like 1980, right, to 83. Rod, what are you, 77?
73 through 77.
Right. So who was the ball players that y'all?
I'm 76 through 80 in high school.
76 through 80, okay.
Yeah, and I was watching, Billy Bryant, first of all. I thought, Billy Bryant, I always thought he was elite.
Carroll High School.
Number 11, as I call him.
Yes.
And he
Yes.
could ball. Hawkeye,
Oh,
JoJo,
Mhm.
Hawkeye Whitney, JoJo.
Yeah.
But Billy was the one I was watching when I was young. And there
Yeah.
were some other guys that could ball.
Right.
Billy Barnes out of St. John's and a whole lot of
Oh, I
other
remember
guys.
him. Yeah.
But Billy Brown I thought was Turk Tillman rather.
Eastern
okay.
High School.
He was balling. Ratliff.
Oh yeah.
What was
May
it?
he
Rodney
rest in
Wright, I
peace.
think, was a little guard.
May he rest in peace.
Right,
also.
yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of DC was a hotbed for hoops, and
Yes.
I was watching all of these guys play. But I would say Bill had a lot of influence over how I was trying to develop my game.
Mhm.
And then I talk about Nut. Nut taught me a lot about basketball. So so
Nut
there's a lot of guys, man.
Nut is a gangster ball player.
Yeah,
Nut went to
said-
Wilson, by the way. You know what?
yeah, he went to Wilson.
And Nut with that left hand Nut. But let me tell you about Billy, man. Billy, he came up behind me on Upshur Playground because he went to McFarland. And me, him, and Michael Coble, who went to Roosevelt at the time, was his boy. We were down Upshur Playground when they didn't have no lights. It was light from the pool. We would be out there at 11 at night having a national yo-yo contest. We could yo-yo the most time to make a basket hang in the air. Mudge would be going to a party at 11. They would be coming back from the party. And like, man, y'all missing. We still will be out. That's back in the day, outdoors. That's why my knees are shot, no cartilage. Those are the days, man.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, I got a question for you because I thought about this, man. What prompted the transition from a professional basketball career to a C-suite role in biotech and the pharmaceutical industry?
I was going to ask. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's an interesting question because when I finished up at Dallas, I went to Washington for a little while. Gene Shue was coaching. Manu Bowl was a rookie,
Okay.
and I was in practice, and I'm guarding Manu Bowl a couple times in practice, and I said, no, this isn't going to work out. I'd already had conversations with Digger Phelps about when I was done playing, I wanted to get a master's. So I talked to Gene Shue, and I said, look, I'm not going to, if you're going to play around, I'm not going to be in camp guarding Manu. I'm going to go on with my life.
Right.
And back then, they weren't really offering you a lot of money to play, in Europe. So I had a couple offers. They weren't substantial. So I went back and got my master's, and then I got recruited into pharmaceuticals. And it was a natural transition because a lot of the things that it takes to play basketball, they transition into the business world.
Exactly.
So the first is being competitive. The second would be, being a team player, so collaboration and teamwork, strategy, learning strategy, turning strategy into execution.
With success and failure.
Yeah, all of those things are easily transferable. So it's just a mindset transfer at that point. I didn't have to go, I didn't have to go run on the track or, go run the stairs or anything like that. But I had to work at different things in a different way. So it was just a mindset.
Sloop, so that's so interesting. Being from Langdon Park, a DC guy, you became a drug dealer. I mean, I think that's.
Hey,
they were legal drugs, legal.
You forgot a legitimate drug dealer.
They were legal.
Legitimate drug dealer.
And I started out selling, to doctors, and educating doctors and pharmacists and that kind of thing. And then I continued to build my career where I was, ultimately leading, large sales teams and leading managers.
Who was it that you worked for, Tom? Who did you work for?
I'm sorry?
Who did you work for? What pharmaceutical companies did you work for?
I started out with Boehringer Ingelheim. They're still in the game. Then I went to a company called Azine Incorporated. And they're still doing their thing. Lexicon was the last company I was with in a big role, Lexicon Pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just with Eversana, which is a different avenue as it relates to biotech and pharma. But I just left them, and I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do next now.
Oh, you retired?
I'm not. I don't think I'm quite ready to retire. But it's on the horizon. I'll say it that way.
Okay.
Hey, look, Tom, you wouldn't have no Viagra when you was. No, I'm just joking.
You go ahead. Hey, Rod. Look, you were drafted by the Seattle Supersonics in the 5th round. They don't even have that no more.
Right.
What was it? The 1982 NBA draft or something?
That's right.
Okay. Could you walk us through that day what it felt like for you to officially enter the NBA orbit?
Well,
knowing that you made it to the draft. I mean, just getting drafted was the big thing. I mean,
Yeah. It was. It was. To be honest, it was myriad emotions because as the process grew closer, I got to understand more than I ever thought how political it was, and how much it had little to do with, abilities or statistics, and more to do with who you knew,
right,
who knew you,
right, yeah.
and who was saying, anything uplifting relative to you, your abilities, personality, your character, etc. That played a huge part, as it does in all professional sports, but back then especially, because they only had what they called there were only 3 what were considered elite NBA scouts. All right,
Okay.
every team had their own thing, but in terms of whose word they took, there were 3. And so you had to. That's why free agency back then was a joke. I mean, because any invitee to free agency already had an idea of who they were going to keep before you got.
Do you know? You remember those 3? Do you remember the names? I know David Falk would have been one.
No, Marty Blake.
Yeah,
Marty
Blake.
Yeah.
And what about the boy Fred Slaughter out of California?
I knew the name, but Marty's name was, he was like numero uno.
Yeah,
right.
I remember that.
And what he said or
was gold
of you could make or break it.
Yeah.
It could get you a shot in the summer league. It could get you a chance at somebody's camp if and I know all of this because when I got to Seattle and when they let me go the last day of pro camp, Lenny Wilkins told me himself. And he said, he told me then, he was like, you don't give up. And I didn't feel so bad because I got to be there. I got to get there. I watched them let Wally Walker didn't train all training camp. He came to the morning practice, the afternoon practice. They had traded his ass away. And so now I'm up close and getting to see these guys, and the guys with tenure, Freddie Brown, Lonnie, John Johnson was a free agent that year. Gus, these guys with tenure, they were, Greg Kelser, they were all right, but they didn't keep a rookie that year.
Wow.
And I ended up being their 3rd pick in the 5th round because they didn't have any in the first 2. But I enjoyed the experience. But to be honest, I enjoyed my time abroad more because I got an opportunity. To continue to play and enjoy playing. Okay. And I didn't have the distraction.
And that's all we want is opportunities.
Yeah. And I had a brief exposure to the NBA, man, and some of the entrails, let's call them. And some of those guys, man, they could go like I would never try. I mean, they would, but they were them, and so everything goes the way that goes for a reason. I wish that things could have worked out different, but it was what it was, and I'm thankful for being able to get to that level and then go on, continue to grow my game.
So what do you do now in Virginia? You working in the school system in Virginia, correct?
So I have been out of the school system now since 2002, and I call myself semi-retired. So I do a wealth of volunteer work, and I also do some skill development training for prospective student athletes of any sport interest. And I've put that to the side a bit in the last year or two, especially since COVID, because the nature of everything being offered and absorbed relative to sports and many things is just different. And my interest is in growing the interest of someone who wants to do. It's not money. I mean, it's nice to be paid for what you know and what you can do, but that's not my. And now, with the explosion of finance-backed AAU and other programs that tout themselves in their ability to be able to do this and offer this to a kid, I just want to be very careful what I associate myself. So, there's a lot out there. There's a lot more exposure. These kids have a lot more opportunity even before the NIL. But some of the cruddiness that existed back in our day is tenfold now, and it's just it just has a different coding to it, man.
Hey, Slu.
Yeah, that's what I say. I say that they're only doing now what was done back in the day when they was giving up money under the table in college. I know we ain't getting nothing up Georgetown. We barely even got a pair of tennis shoes. So but the other guys at UNLV and I remember going to UNLV. We playing UNLV, and we on the bus and watching the guys that played in UNLV getting Mercedes-Benz, BMWs, and me and Reggie Williams looking at each other like, damn, we came to the wrong school.
Yeah, look, that I saw that when we played Penn State, played Minnesota, and Michael Thompson, Ray Williams, Flip Saunders, and Kevin McHale. These mothers had carte blanche. We were at a party after the game in the hotel. They were smoking weed. And the house dick came. They said, "Oh, Dutch," that was the coach. And they just walked away. I'm like, God dang. But
wow.
Stu, your transition, man, from Gonzaga to Notre Dame to the pros. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. From Gonzaga to Notre Dame, it was an interesting transition because there were a lot of pros on that team. So when I got to Notre Dame, I played with Tracy Jackson, Kelly Tripucka, Orlando Woolridge, John Paxson. I ended up going to the league. Joe Klein was on the team. He ended up in the league for a while. We had a lot of pros, so the level of play was elevated right away just because we had a lot of good guys on the team, and there were other guys who came in. Donald Royal ended up at Notre Dame. He played for a while in the league, and there were some other guys as well. Kenny Barlow who did really well overseas. Got drafted by the Lakers. He never went to the league, but he was drafted number 21 in the first round. So the transition wasn't that difficult because of what I was doing, in DC. I was facing a lot of good talent on a daily basis. And so that part of the transition wasn't that difficult. And I was playing against a lot of pros too. So Kevin Greavy, I met Kevin Greavy when I was in high school. my junior year. And so Kevin would take me to play, against the Bullets and where all the other pros were playing pickup. So that element, came to me from Kevin Greavy, and he had a lot to do with my growth as it relates to that.
Wow. And
then going to, getting drafted by the Mavericks, I was the 41st pick in the second round. Larry Fleischer was my agent. Rod was talking about some folks a minute ago, and Larry was an influential guy back then. He had a lot of clients that, were big clients. And surprisingly, that transition wasn't as difficult either. And so they talk about the speed of the game. Mm-hmm. And as you go from high school to college and then college to pro, trying to understand the speed of the game and get your mind around that. It's depending on where you come up, that might not be the biggest adjustment. And the way we play in DC, it was always a fast-paced game. Yep. And it was fast-paced with athletic guys. And so I didn't really have a big, mentally, it wasn't a big adjustment. I could see the game. It didn't go any faster for me. And I think that's what allowed me, to catch on with the Mavericks. Now in practice, man, Rolando Blackman and Derek Harper and Mark Aguirre was our number one guy. Jay Vincent was on the squad. There were some guys with the ball. Brad Davis was there. And Brad was a great executor. He could play the game. He could execute. We know he could shoot the ball from his time in Maryland. But the transition there was trying to understand and figure out that, okay, I didn't have to go to class anymore. I was a basketball player. And so I had to make sure I was doing more to hone my game. And Jay Vincent would talk to me a lot about working on my game and making sure I was eating right and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And it's a lot different now than it was back then. Now, you might have as many coaches as you do players, and they feed you a lot of your meals and they watch your diet and stuff like that. We didn't have all that when I was there. It was Dick Mauter was the coach, and we had one or two assistants. Bobby Weiss was the one assistant who was always there. Mm-hmm. And then we had a trainer, and that was really the staff. And so you just had to get used to making that adjustment. And trying to understand, what it was to be in the league, because you had to watch yourself as it relates to that too, because you could easily get caught up with wrong people. Mm-hmm. After the game, there's women waiting for you, or there's someone waiting for you, and you got to make sure you stay straight and don't get caught up in that. And I think Notre Dame helped me because they kept us straight, when I was at Notre Dame.
And who was the coach at Notre Dame when you were there?
Digger Phelps.
It was Digger. What about Digger? How was he? What kind of guy was Digger Phelps?
Digger was, man, Digger was no nonsense. Look, if he said he was going to do something, he did it. He was no nonsense. Okay. If he said, look, if you miss class, you will not play. If someone missed class, they did not play. And it didn't matter who it was. And so he was disciplined. He was structured. If you made a mistake, he was going to let you know about it. And it could be little tiny mistakes, man. You might set the pick, you might be an inch off of how you should be setting the pick. Well, he's going to correct you and make sure you did it right. But he also cared about, making sure we got our education. So that was number one. He was proud that every basketball player that came through got their degree.
Wow.
And so he was serious about the basketball stuff, but he also knew a lot of us weren't going to go on to play, and we had to figure out what to do after that, and he wanted to take care of that end of things too.
Wow.
Okay. Awesome. So Rod, what is the most significant lesson that you learned from a coach that you still apply today on your professional and personal life?
That's a good.
I think honestly the value lesson over the years that I've learned from coaches is you can't talk to everyone the same way. You can't treat everyone the same way.
Wow.
And because as a coach, by extension, you're an educator, you're a teacher, you're a parent, whether you want to or not. The more every male basketball player doesn't require nurturing, but many do, and nurturing isn't babying, but it is maybe listening. And I've had coaches, and I've heard of coaches that their perspective was the perspective. There was no voice. You had no voice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the most important thing I've learned is you can't talk to everyone the same way, and everyone can't be treated the same way.
Okay.
Man, and I just want to jump in on that question because, and Digger was always trying to help me understand about, how do you deal with adversity. And I remember, when I wasn't playing well and he pulled me into the office and he was asking me, what's wrong? Why aren't you playing well? Mm-hmm. And I was telling him, this was happening at home and my mother's, having a hard time, paying the bills and this and that. And he just looked at me and said, "Hey man, forget your mother." Now he's a little more forward with his language. But he said, "Forget your mother. You're here. You can't do anything to help that situation. You've got to learn how to take care of what you're responsible for here and not let what's going on there impact you in a negative way as it relates to what you're supposed to deliver here." And then I had to deal with it again, and I didn't deal with it the second time real well. Mm-hmm. And Rod, you know about this, and some of you guys, Bobby, you probably heard about, when my younger brother, when he got shot and killed. Yeah. So I made the Mavericks, and it may have been that night after I made the team, my brother got shot and killed.
Wow. And
so I get a phone call from my older brother, and he said, "Hey, Michael got killed. Michael's dead." And so I had to leave, and I had to deal with the funeral and spend time with the family and all of that. But I just wasn't the same when I returned from that. And later on in life, as I started thinking about it, it came back to the lesson that he was trying to teach me. Digger was trying to teach me about how do you deal with adversity, how can you block that out and focus on your goals. And if you can focus on your goals, then hopefully you're going to have that success, and that's going to help you overcome the adversity. I'm first to admit I didn't deal with that one real well, and the whole mental health thing, there wasn't any kind of assistance. I didn't have anyone to talk to,
right.
So there wasn't support, and so dealing with adversity was something that Digger was always talking to me about, and I think it's really important that everyone understands that.
Hey, Stu, it's interesting that you bring up a good point that I don't think it's discussed enough about the mental health issue in basketball, period, but definitely pro ball and college ball. I'm listening to you because I didn't really I had 4 sisters and 2 brothers, and I was the youngest, but they were struggling with their marriages because all of them got divorced, and they're trying to raise their kids. So I was really out there on my own and going through, like you're saying, now that I think about it, there wasn't no mental help, nobody. You had to and thank God I grew up in D.C. because I'm not going to lie. The things that I learned not to do watching guys that were messing up, I learned more of what not to do than I did of what to do, which is still good. But for you as a young man to go through that, man, and a lot of young men, especially, I was interested in how Rod was going to answer that question because Rod is a very diplomatic mug. So Rod, you're a good speaking person too. Because I was wondering how you were going to go because there's a lot of coaches that have jacked people's lives up, young boys' lives, and mentally mess guys up. You know,
but
man.
It's interesting too because Tom's point. There was a point when I was in college. My going into my senior year, I got a new coach, and he was a junior college coach. First 4-year college, coaching opportunity. But he had coached Kevin Willis, who played with Atlanta in JUCO. And in his mind, his idea of how big fellas should play in the pivot was a Kevin Willis prototype, and that wasn't me. I could shoot the ball, I could run the floor. I wasn't just a rebounder. I was third in the nation in block shots my junior year. I wasn't his guy. And as a consequence, when he came in, he sat me my senior year. I'm a projected preseason Playboy All-American. And he sat me, and I started 2 games my senior year. And as a consequence, the question, not my character, not my grade, not my performance, but my character was the question. Whenever we went to play, anyone that we played had seen me the year before. They knew who I was. They know what I was like. And so their programs were filled with what's going on, why is he playing. The easy thing to do would have been maybe to quit, but I wasn't going to do that. It was drafty. I figured if I quit, my opportunity. So, as in terms of basketball. So I did. I stuck it out. But it was hard, man. It was a very, very, very difficult experience that I had no one.
That's what I'm talking about.
To talk to about. And I got through it. I stayed. I went to summer school, worked out, and I came back to DC right before the draft. And that draft experience just it made that senior year experience feel like a scab that was pulled away, because I hired an agent who gave me a certain information, told me I would be taken by Cleveland in a certain round. And not only was he not in the draft, when they did take me 2 days into the draft, he didn't know what team took me. So these are things that you're hearing about that I'm getting now to live in real time about how some of these things.
Right.
And so, I learned there. I learned from that situation. But again, man, it taught me to. I guess it was a lesson in perseverance. But see, these kids nowadays, they don't have to endure anything like that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They have an out, and they have an out, with a money line on it. And for good or for bad, that's where we are now.
Hey, Ron, on this subject, and I'm gonna get off of this, but on the subject of mental health, help me understand this, then, because you handled that pretty well, the NBA. But how did you not lose your mind when you went overseas? Because it was so. I mean, you want to talk about. Can you just talk to us about your international, just for a brief moment, so some people can understand the bizarre international.
The early years, my early years, in England and Scotland, they were easy. When I got an opportunity to play in Italy and an opportunity to play in France, it became a little more of what international basketball was about. Competition. The players, I mean, you got players who've been playing for 16, 17 years, you know, playing on national teams. You got U.S. players who have given up their citizenship to become, you know, nationals there, and you know, and money made the game, you know, a little bit. But man,
and what about the off the court, being in like Italy and being in France? I mean, you know, they did call you the Intomaco for nothing.
By the time I left those earlier experiences, I was able to focus, man.
Good.
You know,
Good.
like I said, the earnings went up exponentially, you know, and so you know how it works abroad, man. They first of all, a contract in Europe it has no validity. You can try to fight it, okay, and the concept basically is pay for performance. That's where I learned pay for performance.
That's why
so if you're not performing,
Uh-huh.
a plane ticket's cheap, and there's always somebody over here that's looking for an opportunity. And so, you know, so that changed things, you know, a bit.
Okay.
But it made me certainly appreciate time when I came home.
Right.
You know.
Why? Because people don't understand that mental shift from you playing overseas and thousands of people following you to man and come back home and while you walk down the street, nobody know who you are. That's a hell of a mental adjustment to make. You know what I mean?
Well, I guess I understand how it can be, Bob, but you got to understand your perspective is a little different than mine because in your experiences, you had commercials on TV. Okay, you became accustomed to a certain amount. I mean, you know, look, at the time there weren't before television stations in Great Britain,
and there was no black guy on the television. Good point.
It was a different thing, but I never had an issue with that, man. I came back. My assimilation, I think, was pretty easy. You know, I just, you know, for all the enjoyment that I had, I kind of wish I had started early, like my man. Stop playing around, get, you know, more focused.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Hey, Tom, what was the most important lesson you learned when you was in the NBA? I mean, what lessons did you take from the NBA? You know, because I know, you know, me personally, I took that it wasn't a business or it wasn't something I wanted to do. Because I remember you said something about the money. I remember when I played and got drafted by Seattle, I was getting like $75,000.
Hey, that was a rookie salary, $75,000, and
wow.
Yeah, and you know when Rod was talking about kids today, and they're making so much more money. Some of these kids, if they get a second contract, they'll make so much money that they don't necessarily have to worry about if they handle it right.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to worry about working again. You know, if they take care of their money. And I wasn't making money like that, but I still learned that lesson.
Right.
You know, and what you find now is, and I was reading an article about some guys who are going through it now. They're used to making that money and spending that money, and then it cuts off right away.
Right.
And when it cuts off, they can't change the behavior, and that's what gets them in trouble.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, for me, I just learned, you know, the first thing was I had to work hard just to be on the team.
Right.
And the second thing was I knew I wasn't making a lot of money. So I knew when I got done, I had a lot of life left to live. And I didn't have, you know, millions and millions of dollars, you know, in the bank that were going to carry me until I was not going to be here anymore and carry my family. So,
right.
You know, that I think that was one of the biggest things that I learned, you know, through the process.
How many years did you play?
I just played a year with Dallas, and then I went through that stuff with the bullets, and I went back and got my master's after
Because
that.
you had 3 years to get the pension, right? Was that
4.
Four. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause I remember a lot of guys. They that's the game they would play, because that's what happened to Duck too, right? Duck. I think Duck got to 3 years and he got close, and he never.
Didn't get there. And Tracy Jackson got close. I don't
Tracy
think Tracy
too.
got
That's
there.
good. No, you're right. Tracy too.
Yeah.
I think Tracy went to the Celtics, then Atlanta. No, Chicago.
Chicago. Yeah.
Chicago. Yeah, you're right. He got close too. And I think same thing with Bebe. Doing.
I think so.
Same thing with Bebe.
Yeah, it's it's man, it's and that's the other thing I learned is it is a business, but there's also rules within the business. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us come from college and go to the league, and we don't understand anything around the Players Association, right. And how to make sure you learn, how the league functions and take full advantage of all of that, and what resources do they provide to make sure that you get off the right start. Yep, that stuff is important. How do you engage and interact with your coach? It's the same as how do you engage and interact now with your boss. Right. So you got to learn that. Those are skills that you learn that, we didn't necessarily have the resources to understand it back then, but now we do. And so there was a lot of stuff, that I take away from it.
So being from Washington, D.C., right, what I learned is like, when I went around the country, and this was back then, I don't know if it's like that now, but there was such a respect. And then when I went overseas, did y'all experience that too, being from Washington, D.C., when you was going through your travels? It seemed like we got a lot of respect from being from D.C. Did y'all experience that, or would you say that's a true statement?
I would say, back in the 70s, through the 80s, man. Now playing in the Midwest, needless to say, there's a lot of talent that came out of Chicago,
right? Detroit.
But it wasn't. To me, and we're talking about a larger area, so obviously there's a larger pool, but it still wasn't to the degree that Metro DC was churning out back in the day.
Right.
We, Metro. The area was just, it was a hotbed. And when I look back and reflect upon it, man, there were some guys, there were some coaches who knew how to coach, who actually knew how to do it. But then there were some who were just figureheads. They were just figureheads. There was some in Mackin. And the talent of the team, it was like almost like having a pro team. You know what not to mess with to have at least some degree of success.
Right.
That was my experience. But Tom at Gonzaga, Dick Myers was coach, and he had a staff that was a coach. And I used to, especially once I was out of high school, I used to go over to Gonzaga when they would practice. And so I got to see up close, and it was a completely different way of doing things. And, organization, in terms of expectation, and we're talking about working with a lesser talent, so nothing disparate,
Right.
But I'm saying, and when you look back on it, if you look even across the inner high, when Spingarn had good teams, I don't remember them having a good coach when Will wasn't there.
Right.
Now, again, I started paying attention to the game in 8th and 9th grade, and I followed it ever since. But there were some schools that just didn't have the ability to teach.
Like Jodine at Dunbar was pretty good.
Oh yeah. And then they got players who were ability.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I would say to answer your question, man, there were many places that when they saw DC, you know, they something was coming.
Yeah. Did you experience that, Sluby?
Yeah, I did. I mean, so in the NBA, you know, you think about the players that came from DC. You know, I'm looking at a list now: Thurl Bailey, Elton Baylor, Dave Bing, Austin Carr, Kenny Carr, Adrian Dantley. You know, I would see some of these guys. Obviously, Bebe's on this list.
How about Kermit
Clark
Washington?
Gregory's on this list.
Kermit on it.
Eddie Jordan.
Ooh,
you know, and Sidney Lowe. And so you go to play these teams and you see these guys from DC. And, you know, we interact and, you know, and we dap and, you know, talk for a minute. But we knew there was something in common.
Right.
You know, we had something in common. We all came, you know, from DC.
Right.
And we're not even talking about Maryland and Virginia. So when you look at the DMV, man, it's a boatload of players that have played in the league, and not that many players get there, and so that's how we know that you know, DC is a hotbed for basketball. It always has been, but it was a fraternity when you get to the league, because there were so many other people from DC who had made it to the league.
And that's what I was kind of alluding to. It was almost like a secret fraternity. Like I said, actually, there were some guys from other teams that I was more closer to the guys on my team at Wilson.
Yeah.
Like with Stacy and Billy Bryant. I was really close to these guys. Cricket. I was really close. You know, I got really, you know, like you said, but it's not like we hung out. But whenever we met, it was like, and that's a very special thing about coming out of DC, because being, like you said, such a small spot. And a lot of people don't know this about DC, and I was challenged with this before. But I'm serious. If somebody go do the research, as long as the DC would dunk on your ass, okay? I know a lot of folks from DC that would always try to dunk on boys. Now, New York got the guards, California got the run and shoot, Chicago got the guard. But DC, we had some folks who want to strong arm and dunk on your ass.
They want to get you. That's right.
They want to get you. That's
right.
But one last thing though, how y'all feel about the NIL? Really, how do you feel if you were? How do you feel about it? And then how do you feel if you were in that era? Would you think you would have got paid?
Well, I think all of us on this call would have gotten paid.
Yeah, baby.
You got to understand how much more control as a player you had in that. You know, you don't need any tape, really. Just think back in the day, if somebody was able to see the ability that you had or how you played, and then they offered you some NIL money, man, you know, it's mind-boggling to me. I think for the first year of the NIL, at least 0.5% of all NIL money should have gone in an escrow account or escrow fund with O'Bannon's name on it.
Wow, that's a good one. I forgot about.
I do, man, because without that impetus, none of this. None of it would be, and I'm not sure that they've gotten this thing right, because what they've done with this NIL, unfortunately, just like every good thing that's offered, I believe, is they've opened up more opportunity for the vultures, and so gambling. Oh
God, that's a whole nother
front. Okay, and so now gambling, other than some point shaving, what they used to call it back in the day. But see, we talking about, we talking about multi-million dollars now. And I think that the NIL is going to exacerbate that problem. Right. And so now it's not professional sports. It's your amateur athletics, what we call refer to as our amateur athletics.
That's
now,
it. Yeah.
Saw what they did. We saw what they did with the AAU.
Mm-hmm.
Now this is just the AAU on steroids with a license.
Yeah.
And I don't bemoan any of these individuals getting their opportunity to earn. That's
Correct.
not what I'm saying.
Correct.
But there are a lot of individuals who are earning because of their ability to market themselves as opposed to their ability representing the university.
Are you for it, Sluby? Are you for NIL?
I mean, it's here. So, you know, I don't know if it matters if I'm for it or not. It's good that they get, you know, something for playing and for the name like this and image and you know, look, I think we all are sitting here wishing that we were born a little later.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. And so, you know, good for them. I hope they take care of it. And, you know, and I hope they figure it out because Ron is right. They haven't perfected this thing.
No.
Right.
And there's a lot they need to do to fix it because there's a lot of problems. Everyone, you know, before it happened, everyone was all they need. They should get paid, but no one thought about the problems that came along with it.
Right.
And so now they have to fix all of that. And there's inequities, man. There's guys that should be getting money that aren't getting money, and there's schools that can't pay people that should be able to pay people. So it's a system that needs to continue to evolve. I'll say it that way. And there's an opportunity to get it right and make it better.
Because now they're starting to put departments in school that just handles.
That's right.
And I didn't know there was 3 components to NIL. You got the NIL with the player, and then you got the pool sharing, which is a pool sharing, which that's when the boosters get involved. You know, it goes to a pool and it's a pool sharing. And I forgot the other component, but it's 3 levels of this thing, man. It is. I don't know how they're going to control it, man. But Ron know me, man. When I was overseas, man, I was the marketer. I would be doing stay sign, doing the worm on the floor. I had so many goddamn endorsements and shit. I had jelly beans and every goddamn. Man, I look at these young guys. I'm like, man, I'll be eating this. Oh God, dang, I have so much. But that's the day and age. Man. One last thing, is it? And Mike, you know your question that you always ask at the end, man. I'm trying to remember.
Okay, I know what you're gonna ask. What is the best piece of advice would you give your 18-year-old self? I want to know from each of you.
That's a good one. That's it, Mike. Yep. You go, Slube.
Man, that's a tough one. I think it would be work hard, number one.
Okay.
Stay aware because life changes very quickly. And you don't want to get left behind, so stay aware. Meet as many people as you can, because that's where your opportunity is probably going to come from. You know, and then make sure that you're happy. Do what makes you happy.
Right. Okay.
Ooh, that last one is a big one for me, Slube. So many people, man. I don't care how big, how small. It's all about do what makes you happy. That is,
and that was my problem when I was coming up. I was worried about what other people thought and never thought about myself. But over the years, I've learned to think about myself.
Right.
And damn.
Right.
What did you say, Rod?
Man, I so much want to mimic exactly what my man said. I think what I would probably tell my 18-year-old self is trust in what you've been bestowed with and not others.
That's big. That's big. Hey, Mike. I never got to answer that question, man. I want to answer that question today, man. I feel empowered to answer that question. You know what I would tell my 18-year-old self? Stop that goddamn foolishness.
Yeah.
And
Me too.
I did some dumb shit, man. I said, stop that goddamn foolishness.
Me too.
Period.
Close us out, B. Close us out, P.
Yeah, man. So look. By the way, I forget.
Okay.
My book, The Other Side of the Hoop, the European basketball. And by the way, there's some people in here that might be familiar. What? Shut up, Rod. I ain't saying no name. Hey, Slube, I messed up, man. I took names out of people, but I left one name a mistake on this one story.
Don't offer to buy his book until he signs my copy.
But look, y'all. Look, we here the same every Tuesday, 7:30. P checks out, and I gotta say this about Mike. For last year, man, we didn't get to close out last year. This is what I learned about Mike doing the show with Mike Graham. This dude is the most understood guy that was in the public eye that I ever known. This is one of the nicest, caringest, smartest guys I've ever met. He knows every goddamn body. And you know why he knows everybody? It's because the guy that he is. That tells you about a person, right?
Yeah.
If a person don't think you're worth a damn, they're going to tell you. But Mike knows Lottie, Dottie, and everybody. But I just wanted to say that, Mike, man. It's been a pleasure. Last year we had some great, and the people that he knows, man, I was like, God damn, how many years did you play ball? It's like 50 years. No, Cassie Russell, John Lucas, Washburn, Gervin. I mean, and we got more to come. So stay tuned and look, Rod, Sluby.
Yes, we got a lot more to come.
So much, man. This has been great. We hope it's going to enlighten some people, and I hope the young people that watch today learn something from this too, man. Because it's something being a pioneer. One thing I found out being a pioneer, you don't really reap the benefits. All the young people over there now making six figures when I'm making 5 and stuff, but it's okay. But that's what this show is about, y'all. You know, helping people and just sharing some knowledge and experiences, man. Because y'all have been through some crazy stuff, and to still be here and have a sane mind, Tom Sluby and Roderick Camp, y'all need to count the blessings because y'all could have been out of here years ago.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, thanks for having us, man. You know, we'd love to do it again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we will do it again, by the way. This is just not
I'm gonna call you again. So
yeah, because I'm gonna ask Rod about Glasgow, Scotland. And Slu, I'm gonna ask you about that young lady in New York. All right, y'all.
Okay.
All right, peace out, man.
All right.
Peace. Closes out.